going to be a first tutorial for all the subs and Patreons for the RGC. We're going to go, this is going to be the first one, so we're going to go over the very basics of the editor, and also hopefully getting to a point where we can start up our own mod map. So I'm just going to go through this editor and kind of show you some shortcuts and some tricks and small things to get you familiar with it, and then we will work towards starting a map. So let's get started. What I did here was just opened up the editor by itself. You can get the editor and download it from Giant's website. I'm just gonna go to it right now. Giant's editor. It should give you a download. Giant's developer. Yep. You need to sign in. Once you sign in, it'll go to the downloads section. I can't remember what my sign is. I don't feel like looking for it, but it's easy to find. Download it, and then you got it. Make sure you got the right version. I think it's going to be 9.03. 9.03 is what we're on right now. When you get started out, you may not have all the windows that I have here. So in order to get these windows, these are the ones that are important. I'm going to show you a few other ones you're going to need to add, because I deleted them just to show you in this tutorial here. First thing I do is set my windows. So to go to window, you want to have the scene graph, which we already have, the terrain editing, which we have, user attributes, we're going to add that. I usually put that below my scene graph here. We're also going to need just regular attributes. That's going to be when you click on an object or click on something, it's going to give you information about it. So these, what is it, 4, and material editing 2, which is already over there. That's a good one to have. You don't, not as important starting out. It's more an advanced setting or window to have, but I always have it up to check material whenever I need to. We'll go over that probably later on in later sessions as we get to that point. But so that's basically it. Just gonna go over these icons here up at the top. Basically, if you want to start a new i3D, open up a existing i3D. So if you want to open up a map, we can use this text editor, so we can open up the i3D in Notepad or whatever we have for a text editor. Reload i3D, so if we did something and we want to reload it, a refresh kind of deal. Save it, save i3D as, pretty all basic stuff here. We're going to import a file. I don't ever use that one, so probably never get to that. This is how we play animations or sound or whatever is in a map. We can do that there. First person mode, don't use this too much, but it gives you kind of a first person view if you're in a map. It brings you down to the terrain. You can kind of walk around like you're walking and get a bit more better view like you're in a game. Local world mode, these are settings for your trigonometry. I can't remember the exact name for it. It sets it so you can spin it or not. It's kind of hard to explain, but these are snapping modes. You can choose different ways to snap it to. I don't have that disabled. I like to free move my nodes around and trying to get a better word for that cursor thing there. It has the north, east, southwest stuff on it. I really can't get a name for it, but I'll think of it. This is terrain sculpting, so basically you can in a map you can move the terrain up and down depending on what your terrain editing tool is set to. We're gonna go over that here in a little bit. This is painting, so you can detail for textures, paint textures in on your map. This is a mesh paint mode. It's a new thing, a new tool that's been added with 9.0. This is basically how you can plant multiple trees or any objects really. Um, you just select an object and you can select the mesh painting of your numbers in here to get a certain distance apart. And just move your brush around and it will set multiple trees or multiple objects to how you have these settings set up. And we'll go over that tonight. This is terrain info layer. So um, your farmlands. Let me get rid of material editing so we can see more of the terrain editing tool here. So with the info layer, basically, um, I don't have a map open, but there's a farmlands. Your mask for snow mask, terrain dumping. What do you call that? Material dumping mask. So you can set places where material can't be dumped on the map, so in the buildings and things like that. So if you accidentally dump a pile next to a building, it won't go inside the building. You know, you can use that. I clicked on it. So yeah, I figured I was gonna do that. Crashed it. Didn't mean to click on it. But yeah, you can paint all that in farmlands and different meshes and stuff like that. And this right here is your foliage. So your grasses you can plant, your grass, your weeds, your bushes, and things like that. This is a translation mode, rotation mode. So you basically can move an object or rotate it. You can scale using this stuff. I always use attributes and things like that to scale stuff. Prefabs, no, you know what that does, but these are reload textures and things. So if you update a texture, you can reload it using that icon there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open up a map and do some editing to the terrain in there, and then we can go over some more things. I do have scripts set up for a 16x map. In the tutorial section, I will post all my scripts and things like that and how to add them in to your editor. Maybe that will be on the next week's tutorial, but for now we're just going to get over the basics and we'll add in those scripts and things that we need to open up a 16x. But the map that we're going to be making is going to be a normal size map, so we won't need that script. But keep that noted, you will need scripts in order to do a larger map. So let's load up. Which map should we load up to do some of this editing here? Alright, Roars Valley doesn't have that in there. Did I put it in the private? I did. Alright, so in order to load up a map that's already existing to edit it, you need to find the i3D of the map. In order to get an i3D out, so we're just going to do this how you would do it for yourself for the first time. So you want to get a map that's in zip format and you want to open up an i3D. So on Aurora Valley server, you click on the map. I have WinRAR, which I use. You don't have to, but for me it works the best. Just gonna open up in WinRAR. All you gotta do is hit extract to, and then hit OK, because it's automatically gonna extract it to this folder. That's where I want it. Where you can choose a location, but I just want it right there, so it's just gonna extract it out. It's a very easy, simple way to do it. And now we have it in a file format. It's the only way we can open up an i3D is if it's in a file. So while it's in zip format, it will not work if you try to click on the i3D. So we open up the file, go down to where Aurora Valley i3D would be in maps. A lot of maps will just be map i3D. Don't change the name like I do. And just double click on that, choose 9.03 if you have other versions, and it will load the map. So this is a normal size map, so it should load relatively quickly. The larger the map, the longer it takes. So we're gonna start out with the very basics of basically changing the terrain. Um, Here's your nav speed. Mine's set at 43, so we hit the plus and minus on your keyboard to make it go faster and slower. So now I can zoom across the map a lot quicker on that speed. If you see yourself going super slow at a high number, it's probably because you have your mouse set to click. So this is when I have it set to click, I don't go very fast. When I turn the clicks off and have it freewheel, I can crank around the map. I'm just using the middle mouse to move, and I'm right clicking to turn my my image. So on a right click and just hold on to it to kind of move and then zoom. Fly around using the wheel. So I'm just right clicking, moving around, zooming, zooming, zooming. All right. So we're gonna just mess with this terrain right here. We're just gonna put a big mountain, let's say, right in this area. This big area. We're just gonna throw a mountain in here real quick. All right. So we're gonna choose the terrain sculpt mode. Use the wheel once you click on it to make it go larger or smaller, or you can click on your terrain editing section here that we've already put up. And let's change that to 100 just to show you how we can change it. To update it, just move your wheel a little bit. It'll update it. So right now, what we have opacity is at, hardness and everything is at 1. That's basically default. Um, you lower these values, you can make the change of the slopes and things like that be more drastic or less. Um, right now, I'm going to leave it at default. I can show you the difference here in a little bit. The brush type is round. You can choose a square brush. We're going to use round for this mountain. This is LMB, is left mouse button, so that's add. So when I hit the left mouse button, it will add terrain basically. This middle mouse button is set to smooth, so I can smooth that terrain. And right mouse button is subtract, so I can sink down the terrain as I would like it. Replace value is set to 117. So basically, if I hit Control R, wherever this is, we'll change that replace value to now 19. And that replace value basically is, if you wanted to set it to replace, it will replace it to that value, right? So if I set my left mouse button to replace, now everything, if I click and move it around, it's all going to be set to 19.917. So that's an extremely flat area that I just did right there. Yeah, that's the replace. There we're going to do add. We're just going to with the 1 value, everything at 1, we're just going to click and drag around. You can see that we're adding terrain. I'm just building a little mountain here, just clicking in certain areas. Some little slopes here. You can see it's not very good looking, right? It just has all these little rings and things, random spots. But it's a mountain, right? It's a big hill. We're going to smooth all that off and sculpt it in the way we want it just fine. What I like to do is as I go, I make it a little bit smaller. You can kind of manipulate certain areas to add like it's more of a natural formation. Um, don't mind all these little bumps and things and miniature circles as that will all come out. Right, that's fairly good, right? We got a nice little big mountain area here, just randomly in the middle. So now, kind of smooth this off with our middle mouse button. Just kind of drag it over everything. I'm holding down my middle mouse button and just kind of making quick strokes. I think I'm just smoothing it out. See already how nice that looks, right? Nice quick smooth here. Looks good. Alright, we got ourselves a little bit of a mountain here. I like to, again, go with a smaller stroke here with the terrain editing selected, kind of give it some ridge lines, make it look more realistic, like a actual mountainside here, right? Instead of nice smooth, these little rocks protruding off. And you just smooth those areas out. It gives it a little bit more of a rough looking face there instead of a nice smooth face, right? So just raising it in areas and then smoothing it out after. So all I'm doing is just using my imagination, making it look a little ridge up the center of this top here, kind of deal. Again, I have grasses on here, so it's kind of hard to see. Further out, the better it does look. Looks like it has a little bit of a ridge, a couple little slopes going down the side here. This area added in some more realistic look to it, I think. Good enough. Alright, so now I'm just going to use this terrain foliage mode because I want to get rid of all of the grasses on here so I can start painting in textures so it's easier to see. So in foliage layer painting, this is the foliage paint mode. We're going to choose what we want basically to delete. A lot of these will delete basically anything if you have it selected, but we're going to go into meadow grass because I know that's what that is. Harvest ready is typically the layer state that we're going to be using most of the time. So we're going to choose that in these down arrows. So foliage layer meadow, layer state, heavy, and subtract. Where mouse button is will subtract all the grasses around this area. So as I zoom in, you'll see there's no more grasses on the mountain. When I click on it, subtract, so right mouse button will subtract all of that. Alright, so after I get basically all the grasses that I want off from the mountainside, I'm going to start painting in textures for it. This mountain here, you can kind of see the sloped areas and which is sloped a lot more, which is probably going to be a lot more of a rock, right? Just by looking at it. But there's a way we can set in our settings so we can only paint our certain slopes. So when we click on terrain paint detail, we can go over here and the same thing. We have a texture layer painting. So this right here chooses the texture we're going to paint. So we're going to do mountain rock or rock, I think it's called. Might be grass cliff. I thought it was rock, mountain rock. Let's just see real quick. Okay, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. All right. So this is kind of pretty cool little tool here. We can do a slope limit start and a slope limit. And so basically the paint texture won't start until it's at a certain slope. So if I set this to like a 30-degree angle, and it will end between, so it'll only paint between 30 and 90 basically. So I see I'm clicking here and the flat areas I'm not getting any rock. It's just the steeper areas. See how that works. Let's try a 40 because this is a really steep area. We'll see how that works. That looks better. So I'm just making them out, making the circle a little bit bigger. And just holding down. Okay, 40 might be a little too much. Just change it to 35. See how I notice how I added a little bit? Yeah, that gives us more detail right there of the faces and the more steep areas of the mountain. So we're gonna paint everything in just around it. It's only gonna paint those areas that have that angle between 30 and 5 and 90. Nothing on this backside, huh? Crazy. We didn't make it sloped enough. I think I might change it to 30 because we want to have a little bit of a more of a slope back here. Keep playing with the setting that you would like and what makes it look best for you. You can obviously see this front side here is a lot steeper, so we're gonna have a lot more rock on it, but that's kind of neat. When you're driving around this road here, it'd be cool to look up and see that nice cliff there, even though this is not staying. I do this sometimes for tutorials and I like it after. It's like, oh, maybe I should leave that there. But no, she's not gonna stay. Alright. So now you can kind of do the same thing. So you've got your mountain rock in where you want it, but you don't want to have any grasses on there. So we want to paint in the grass to this other thing here. So since this right here has actually been painted in a bunch of different layers, we're going to change it to one layer. I think I've edited a layer in here that looks kind of cool. Let's test a few. We're going to go back to 0 on our slope limit. I just want to see what some of these look like. So that right there looks like the default grass. So it's grass alpine. Let's see. Okay. I have an idea. So grass alpine asphalt. Grass alpine. Alright, so grass alpine, we're gonna go do some cool stuff here. This is more, a little bit more advanced, but not really, because you can follow me if you like. It's a little extra what I normally would go over for basics, but we're gonna do it anyway because I want to change the grass alpine textures just a little bit. Alright, so we're gonna go into terrain here. We're gonna choose terrain in the attributes section. And now we're going to go down to this layer manager. And this right here brings up basically all the layers that are in here that have multiple, not necessarily multiple, but that's basically in your layer for painting the ground and stuff. So these combined layers here, we got that grass alpine. See how it's all different types of grass alpine. So I'm going to choose this fourth one here. Double click on, not double click, but click twice. Just don't double click in a row. Click this down arrow. We're going to go to a pine needle, forest needles. I'm going to choose forest needles 1. And we need to remember which one we're choosing so we can single out different layers here. So forest needles 1. We can make sure we see that by spreading this out a little bit more and go into this one here. We can kind of see forest needles 1. So this grass alpine now has 3 grasses and 1 forest needle. We're going to apply that so it won't be there to reload the i3D, which is fine. Alright. Okay. Am I seeing things here? Why is all my mountain rock disappear? That must have hit back too many times, I think, maybe. I don't freaking know. It's really weird. Really freaking weird. Alright, so we're gonna try this again. To paint this. That's never happened to me before. Mountain rock in here. That's really weird. How did that happen? Alright, so we chose 30, between 30 and 90. And we're gonna paint in the slope. Okay. We just wanted to do this twice, I guess. Alright, so now that you have these sloped all in, we can kind of reverse that same angle and paint in that grass alpine. So by saying that, like, slope end 30, slope start, we'll say 0. So basically, this grass alpine won't paint over our 30-degree angle. Alright, so I can click on that, see how it adds in that pine needles as well into it. Gives that little nasty, dirty look. But it won't paint over the 30 degrees. So that mountain rock is left perfect, and you have a grassy texture that has a little bit of a pine needle. So you can basically make a forest out of it. That's kind of what I'm doing here, is making a artificial forest of sorts. And what's kind of cool about this too is if you don't want to do this to everything, like you still want to have your grassy alpine over here, like after you do this, you can change it again and it won't update it. Right, because like since I changed this, all this is grass alpine out here. It's not changing it to this until you actually paint it. It's kind of neat, so you can do different multi variations of it, and it'll still make your map look pretty good. So I can also limit it to a texture too as well. So like if I don't want to paint to this gravel, I can limit to just a grass that's painted down here. But I'm pretty sure this is multiple different layers, so it probably won't be working as well as I would like it to. But let's see what we can choose here if it does work. I don't know if grass alpine will work because it is grass alpine, and grass alpine. Yeah, see, it's not working there, but you get what I'm trying to get at. If I let's just choose it. I think it's gravel. We have a lot of cool stuff in here. Gravel alpine, maybe. Oh, okay. That's at 030. Should still work. See how it just painted to the gravel? Nothing else. That's how you do that. You limit to just that texture and paint over it. So we're going to choose that top one there, which is nothing, and just keep painting this area in. Alright. So we got that. We got this nice, gnarly looking grass with pine needles in it. Next thing is we're going to choose to paint in some Meadow Harvest Ready in this area here. So we can also do a limited texture, which we're going to choose that gravel. The grass alpine. There it is. Terrain foliage paint. Make sure it's on add for left mouse button, and that's going to add in wherever we say here Meadow Harvest Ready to grass alpine. So wherever I click, there's a grass alpine. It will change it. Notice these bushes, some of them are not changing when I'm doing this. Some of them are, but some of them aren't, because the texture down below it is not a alpine. Grass alpine is a different texture. But the majority of it I did in this area, I've updated it to this new texture, but that's fine because we're gonna paint that forest one here in a second. But this is just for a tutorial here. We're just gonna quickly do this mountainside, so you guys get the basics on editing and manipulating the terrain, adding in grass types or whatever to the map. but you can see that can be time consuming, right? If you're going to paint the whole area, make sure you're painting it so you can't see it. There is ways that I set up my maps, especially 16 maps. While I'm editing it, I will change the load distances and everything, so I can max it out and I can see from, say, way back here, I can see the grass. It's very helpful when you're painting a large area like this. I can't see any of the grass, so I can just kind of get a guess on it. But if I set those distances further apart, further back for a longer distance, I can makes it easier in the editor. Um, you can do that by opening up the i3D the XML of the type of grass and changing those load distances in that. But remember, you have to put them all back before you start playing, because just imagine trying to load in all these grass textures from 200 meters away. It's not going to happen. It's going to crash. More than likely. All right. So now we did the harvest ready. Let's do some type of bush for our next. Here we can do a deco bush, and there's all kinds of different deco bushes here. Let's try. What's a hazelnut medium look like? No clue. We're gonna choose that Forest Needles 1. That's just why I said we need to remember this, because of this. Forest Needle 1. See how that bush is only painting on where I did those forest needles, and it's gonna have everything else the grass. It looks kind of neat, right? Looks kind of natural, way it's supposed to be. And it's only gonna paint those. To make life a lot easier, just zoom way out. Make your mouse cursor way big. Let's just say 300. Click on this. Boom, boom, boom. Click around there a bunch of times. It's only going to paint those forest needles 01. See, nothing else got painted on. We're good. I think I missed. That must not be forest needles 01. Right, I know exactly what happened there. Alright, we're going to go back to grass alpine. Ooh, shit. Just didn't paint this backside. That's it. Like I said, this is more for tutorial reasons, but nothing else got painted except for the exactly what we wanted. Alright, just so to recap here, this is the terrain detail paint mode. Choose it, texture layer painting, grass alpine. So we're painting in, we did edit it, how to change it, that one texture inside there, or we can leave it default. Do that by clicking on terrain, go into terrain in that, and then down to layer manager. Make sure on combine layers, go to the combine layer that you want to change it. So this is forest needles 01. We can go back to grass alpine 04. Bingo. I can change it back and then just have regular grass again. That's pretty neat there. We learned how to raise the terrain by clicking the terrain sculpt mode and having left mouse button as add. We can add that. We learned how to replace the terrain. So if we want to replace it to a certain value of 20, we change this left mouse button to replace, or any one that you want to use, and all we do is click and it'll replace that terrain to that level. So that's a perfectly flat area set at 20. So we want to do 25 or 30 so you can see a little bit more drastic raise and flatten that, replace that area. That's how you do it. All right. This is the middle mouse button, so we have a smooth, subtract, replace, erosion. Erosion's really neat. We click on that, we can set a erosion value, that's a hardness and things like this. So let's just try opacity. Let's go hardness 0.5 and value 0.5. Let's see how this erosion will work. We can go to these really steep areas here where it works best. Oops. Let's do add here. We're going to do erosion middle mouse button. You can see how drastic that erosion is. But that gives you a feel of water eroding that area. But we're going to do a, I think that might help that too. Let's just see. We're just changing these values here. Yeah, okay, I think I like that value a little bit better. See how that has like a nice little natural ripple effect. So I'm kind of eroding away these sides. I'm just tapping the middle mouse button. I'm not holding down on it, just tapping it and barely moving it. Because if you hold down on it, it's going to give it, see how that drastic that look? It does set at really low values too. So what you're going to do is you're just going to barely click until you get your result that you want. Okay. And that looks kind of natural erosion. Pretty neat little tool. If you're making side mounts, I actually haven't done this to the Yukon or anything. It's time consuming and I never really mastered it. But this definitely looks a lot more realistic when you're making a mountain for sure to have erosion. Different areas erode a little bit more. You can add in maybe a texture paint layer here. Maybe have a mud puddle of some sort, water puddle. Maybe add that into. I don't know. It's a little steeper than I want, but you get what I'm trying to do here. You can do stuff, whatever you like. I would probably smooth this out a little bit more as well. So it's not as jagged. This area here got a little crazy with it when I was first testing it out, but there you go. A lot on the terrain, the sculpting, painting, the different textures, and painting in different grass types and bushes. So we covered quite a bit so far. Now I kind of want to go over this tool here. This is your terrain mesh paint tool. Basically, we can paint trees wherever we want. That's kind of what we're going to do. So in the tool mesh painting here, distance max, basically the max distance that the trees or the objects are going to be separated. The minimum, they will be separated. So between 6 and 8, these trees are going to be placed. Um, for a really nice dense forest, we'll do 2. So between 2 and 8 randomly. Slope limit start, so this is the same deal. Slope limit end. You can not place trees on certain slopes, right? We're going to place them everywhere. We're not going to line to terrain, so if I had this line to terrain, this angle, the trees would be going protruding out that way. We're going to have them straight up and down. So random Y rotate is important too. It gives it a more natural look. All the trees are going to have a random rotation on the Y axis. So basically this axis here. And that's kind of the word I was looking for earlier, axis. So and the axis, it kind of snaps it. So when you do that, see how the axis doesn't move, but that moves. You can turn that off, then you can kind of see that axis move. That was what I was looking for earlier. Alright, so now we're going to choose a tree here. This is stage 2 of a spruce. This is a way to interactively place it, so you can duplicate it too with commands. So Control B, just hit that. Don't need to click anything after. As soon as you left click your mouse, you're going to hold down on it. It's going to drag it to where you want to drop it. Okay. Control D is duplicate it. So now I got 2. I pulled it out. Okay. Control B, and it said I'm holding my left click mouse button. I'm gonna put it back there. Now we have a duplicate one here. So I duplicated it. Control D, Control B, and then left click will interactively place it. So now if I want to place multiple, I hit Shift. So Shift, 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 while I am holding down my left click mouse button. Why am I adding those two together? Like that. When we're done, just left. Take your button off your left click. Alright, that's how you can interactively place it manually. Control B, Shift, 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 Shift while you're holding your left mouse button. After you hit Control B, left click, hold it down, hit Shift, let go to be done with it. Alright, so now this tool, instead of manually placing every single tree, you click on this here and reset it like this. And now what you do is left click for add, and it adds, like I said, a random amount between 2 and 8. So we just pretty much planted this whole forest side here fairly quickly with that tool. Alright, people say, I got 60,000 trees on there. How do you place 68,000 trees on a map? Well, I just planted like 1,000. Doesn't take very long. I can redo my map in a couple hours with all the trees. Obviously, you want to get more detail. You want to have a little bit more variety of trees and things like that. It gets a little bit harder to do, and you gotta kind of change up your values. Like right now, I have it 2 to 8. I may want to do this between 6 and let's say 12, right? Let's just do this area over here. Then I'll paint this area in between 6 and 12. So now it's spread out more. But now I'm going to do between 4 and 8, or 4 and 8 of these bigger trees. So that's a 3, right, between 4 and 8. See how the trees go inside there? And that looks like I want to be more dense than that, because we don't have too many more trees. Let's do 2 and 8. There we go. We got a lot more bigger trees. We got some smaller trees. Maybe now we'll just do, don't think I can go to 1. Don't think I can go to 1. I just want a smaller tree. I can. Okay. So now we got some smaller trees in there as well. But now we got a nice dense forest we can look at driving through. It has a more realistic look to it. Trees are all different random wise. The max distance will be separated as 1. I mean the max is 8. The minimum is 1. So you shouldn't have any trees touching, even though those look like they're pretty close. So there. So that's that tool. Good way to plant all your trees right there. I'm not sure how much more I'd like to go over. We're at 44 minutes. That is all the basics kind of deal. I do want to quickly go over how you can set up your own mod map. I'm just going to be doing the very, very basics, and next week we'll set up the folders for the new map. but for now we're just going to get the basic start of it. Alright, so in the documents here, there's going to be a folder. No, actually not. I'm just going to do it this way here. It's easier for you guys. Alright, so we're going to go to File. Now we're going to do New Mod from Game. Okay, this is going to pull up. I'll say no, because we're not going to save Forest Valley. Alright. Item is the mod. So these are all basically everything is in the game, in the map. These are all the vehicles, the objects, the implements, and everything. So we're going to choose the mod maps. We have the Alpine, France, US. Alright, so right now we're working on with the Alpine, sort of, which is kind of neat map for sure. But so let's just choose it again. Map Alpine. So this is i3D. Maps, Map Alpine, Map i3D. That's okay. We hit OK. Now this is the save location, working directly. I'm going to keep it exactly where it is here. So I'm going to find this in my documents. My FS22 mods mod map Alpine. Hit OK. It's going to prepare the file. So basically, it's writing everything from the base game for that map and putting it in that folder, and it's loading it up. So I pretty much just made my own map, basically based off the Alpine map. Okay. So now I recommend just closing it. Do not save. You don't need to because it's already been built. Go into your folders, your documents, my FS22 mods, and go find mod map Alpine. Basically builds a basic map for you. This is going to be icon for the map. This is going to be a preview of the map, like basically your PDA. Inside here is your map, exactly how it needs to be set up, your shapes, your maps, XML, everything you need, even the mod desk. We can open up the mod desk and start doing some changes here to change the name of the map and all that good stuff. Change the author to who you are, your name, your version is going to be 1. This is where you're going to put the name of the map. We're going to call this tutorial map. How do you say tutorial in German? Tutorial. This is brief description. This is basically in between these brackets and things like that, you're going to put information that's going to pop up when you click on the mod. It's going to tell you a little information about it. People said a lot of information in there. This is where you do it. I'm just going to say tutorial map for subs. I'm going to click on that and just copy it, Control C. So I'll need to paste it down here in this section. Control V. Icon PNG supported true for multiplayer. Yes, sample song map. Same thing here. Just going to copy that line down. And this description here, I'm just going to say welcome. It's on a welcome page. Welcome to tutorial map. So when you start it up and the load screen, it's going to say that. And if you have it set to German, it will say it in English. I'm sorry. And that's it. That's all you need. Save that. Now let's open up the i3D and we can start doing some work in there. That automatically did everything that you need. It's pretty cool. And so you can say you have your own map now, basically. You can actually play this. It's already ready to go. But we don't want it to because this is exactly the L part and we want to change it, right? So let's go do that. Just double click on it, load it 9.03. You can set this up how you want. You can flatten the area, do whatever. What I suggest is leave the outskirts because they lined up really perfect. That's kind of what I did with my version. If you like those distance objects and all that stuff, you can leave that. I just don't like all the roads and things. I just put my own roads in, but feel free to leave everything the way you want it. These are going to be good spots for placeables. Um, this map is a fairly nice map the way it is, but basically you want to make it your own though, right? So start deleting stuff. Click on it. You see all the intersections. You can delete that way. Just go back and transform. It says infrastructure. That's basically everything for infrastructure, for all the roads. That's like a gondola. That's kind of neat. I never even noticed that gondola. It'd be cool if they actually. It's not even a gondola, is it? No, looks like a power line. But you get the idea. Just delete stuff. If you want to delete everything individually, that's fine too. There is a train track that runs through here. There's no train in this map though. There may be animation of a train. I can't remember, but no actual train. But I'm not going to get into too much detail. So if I don't want that building, it's a hotel. This is a whole area we can delete, but we're just going to delete the hotel. Small. Hit the delete key and it's gone. That's all you got to do. Keep in mind, that's the structure there. See, now that got rid of all that. You can also click and drag and delete everything that's in that area. So I just deleted all that. Everything that's in this area is now all gone. That might be the easy way for you guys to do it. Yeah, I think I got everything off that slope. So all you gotta do then now is just use your tools. That's obviously, let's just do 2, 2, 2. I can show you the difference between that. So nice and quickly that levels that area off. So just like that, I got rid of everything there in that bank. But use those tips and things that I told you to create your own terrain, your own roads, and all that good stuff. Next week we'll go over more. Not sure if we'll talk more about it, but I did what I want to do tonight. I got you the very basics of the editor. There's a little bit more information I can go more in depth with. I got you to start your own mod map. Yes, this is actually a map of another in-game map, but now it's yours. You pulled it out, and now you can work on it and change it. You don't need to give no credit to nobody else, maybe Giants, but that's how I start my maps. It gives you all your data, your texture files, everything that you need to start. A lot of people, when they do this, they'll just go into the map section here and just delete everything. and to start over, and you don't need the backdrop or nothing. Um, obviously, I wouldn't go that crazy. You can delete locations, uh, water planes if you don't want the water in there, construction, infrastructure, so all the roads, everything. Rail car, cable cars. Gameplay. These are all the splines and stuff. Fields, don't need fields. Vehicle shop. Splines, I don't want the splines. Traffic system. So it's just showing basically all the splines for traffic systems. I don't have this visual, but we don't need that stuff. AI. Collectibles, we probably want to keep those and make those our own, right? So collectible 1 was right there, but you can kind of choose where you want to put that now. So Control B, place that anywhere you want. Trigger markers, we don't need any of those. I think they're gonna mark where the shops are and stuff though, so we'll leave those in there with selling points. So I think the animal loading trigger is at 000, so it should be lit up. Yep. See how there's already those triggers for it. So there's a building that gets loaded in with the map in this area through the placeables XML. But yeah, you can keep that and keep these warning vehicle stripes and stuff like that so you know. Because obviously that's going to be the animal dealer, so I'm going to go with that one. Right, the vehicle shop right here is going to go with this. The milk sell point. I think this is, yeah, that's going to be loaded in with the map. Loads in, so you really don't need this one. Barn. I don't think you need that one. Wall. Or wood. Yeah, so yeah, I just stripped everything out of the map. And now, even if we want to get even more crazier, we can do boundaries and borders. Just do everything. Just showing you guys everything possible. Let's set the replacement to 5. So you can have a little bit of a ground. Let's set this to 800. 800. Boom. Replace. Just like that. We have a perfectly flat map set to 5. And now let's choose a texture to paint this at. I wonder what the regular grass looks like on here. I thought there was 2 different grass. Grass alpine and another grass. Grass cliff. What the hell that looks like? Yucky. Pretty neat shit though. Why did it do that? I wonder. Oh. I think I know why I did that. Alright. Now we're gonna click on Deco Bush. That will work and do the same thing here. We're gonna delete all of grass in the map. just confused right now. Oh, are all those areas? I think I know. That's crazy. Alright, so we're going to go into, this is sort of new stuff here too, new territory here. Info layers, let's look at the tip collision. Uh, but yeah, we're going to get rid of all this anyway. You can see I'm subtracting, I'm using the right mouse button and all these different things. I'm choosing channel 0 and then deleting it all. So these are all masked basically. Like this is an indoor mask, so snow won't form there. This is all the farmland here. I'm not going to touch that right now. I'm not sure how many farmlands there are. Looks like there's 32 different farmlands, but you can paint in your own. So I'll leave that the way it is for now. I'm still not sure why I go to paint this whole area. It doesn't allow me to paint certain areas yet. So I guess it wants me to limit to a certain texture. It's kind of crazy. I really can't figure out what's going on here. It's kind of crazy. You can probably see what I'm struggling here. I can't paint certain spots. Alrighty. So I'm hoping that it did work. Alright, so I'm just going to save it here. Max it out and reload it and see. Because I've never had to deal with that before. Nope, it's still loading it that way. Actually, I think I can. That is grassy alpine. It's just a larger size for some reason. Hmm. So yeah, I can't figure this out right now why like this textures are separated like this. And I can't paint on this texture here. It's larger image, so I'm guessing there may be something in the data on the dem image. I just saved it. I should have overrid that. Uh, yeah, map dem is just all blank. Grass alpine, it's all covered the whole thing basically. Everything else is blank, so it confuses me why it's loading it and not allowing me to paint in those areas. I have it set to 0. Start. I mean, I could probably try 90 and 0. Don't think that's gonna work. Yeah, so it's the same thing. So, well, that's gonna be it for tutorial number 1 for you guys for basic starting. Sucks that nobody was able to make it in to the live tutorial so they can ask me questions as I'm doing it for more one-on-one um, thing here. So make sure you guys can join that when I set the times for it, so we can do that next time. But that's gonna be it for tonight. I'll see you guys next time.